You knew this.
I didn't know this. Whatever this is.
Okay, so what? What's going on?
You get that thing. Okay, so what were you saying, Mother? You're getting distracted by that phone.
No, I'm not. Okay.
Get off that damn phone.
Yeah,
So
that phone.
my birthday was on a Friday, right?
Yeah.
I turned 18 on a Friday. I turned.
Okay.
That next weekend was May 5th,
Mm-hmm.
the next Friday, and we hung out, and I moved in with him on May 10th.
Mom, did you hear this, bro? Okay, well, if
And
I
I'm
ever
there.
do some shit like that, you cannot judge me.
No.
You can't
No.
judge me because I'm gonna say, Mom.
Mimi was calling me. She was like, "You don't know these people," and I was like, "It's okay."
So 1 week, and y'all
Jesus.
1 week.
Right.
Damn.
But I knew.
I guess
but
you
no,
picked
no.
right.
But listen. Okay, so I had met him like right before I turned 18. So it was like a week before, like the
Mhm.
21st. And I was like, oh, he cute, you know? And I was dreaming about him. I started
Oh.
dreaming about him. And I was living with my boyfriend because Mimi done kicked me out of the house. I was like, I moved out when I was 16.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I moved out.
Brody's just learning more and more right
I
now.
moved out of the house when I was 16. I left home and was living in Lake City when I was 16 because it was just terrible there. And so, anyway, I was engaged to be married. I had an engagement ring and a
To
wedding
that
dress
creepy
to
guy?
that other dude.
Oh,
yes.
fuck.
And I did not want to marry him, but I was almost like, okay, I've created this whole fucking thing
Felt
just to
pressured?
get out of the house.
Oh,
Yes, I
okay.
felt very pressured. Like my mom spent $250 on a wedding dress, and
He's out.
you know, which
He's out
isn't
here.
shit, but still it was because we were poor.
Mhm.
So I was like, I felt obligated, you know. And so, but in my gut, I was like, I don't love this guy. So I happened to go with Becky, who was dating Randy, to
Mhm.
go pick up some weed one day. And Randy was selling weed, and I was like, sure, I'll ride with you. Rode down there. Your daddy was there. He was like standing on a tire. He was like these sunglasses, and he was like looking cool. I was like, he's cute. And I remember Shane, who was his roommate, was like, what's this? And grabbed my finger, and I had an engagement ring. I was like, oh, I'm engaged. And he's like, she's engaged. You know, they were just like so fucking dramatic and crazy. And your dad was like, you know, and anyway,
It's
whatever.
like, not for long.
Long story short, we left, and then I talked to Becky because I was like, I went back to Mimi's for like a few days or whatever, and I was talking to Becky, and she was like, Randy's brother keeps asking about you. I was like, which one? He has like, there's so many.
7.
Which one? And she was like, Buster, but his name's Darren. I was like, what? And she's like, Buster, the one with the sunglasses on the tire. I was like, oh, okay. Well, tell him I said, hey, what's up? And so, anyway, I went back to dude's house, and I talked to Becky again. And this was her brother, mind you, and that I was dating. And she was like, she had called and answered the phone, and she was like, hey. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And she's like, hanging out with Randy. And I was like, oh. She's like, hang on, Buster wants to talk to you. And he's like, hey girl, what are you doing? And I was like,
My
oh, I'm nothing. What are you doing?
Oh my God.
You know? And
Mhm.
so his voice, it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so I was like, nothing. He's like, when you gonna come back over? I was like, I don't know, soon. And so whatever happened, we got off the phone, and the next week I turned 18. And so went out to eat at TGI Fridays with Dumbass, and he ended up getting a settlement because his daddy got murdered by Anderson County Police. So he had like a bunch of money, and he gave me some of the money, and so I go shopping or whatever. And me and Becky were talking. She's like, hey, you want to run down here? I've got to go, see Randy. And I was like, sure, whatever, why not, no problem. We went, and Buster was there. I was like, okay. He had just got off work, and he was in the trailer who belonged to Sissy's. It was Sissy's trailer, but Sissy was living in Georgia, so your dad was staying there. And I'm standing in the doorway, like, just checking him out. I'm 18 behind you, by the way, at this point. And he wakes up, and he looks at me, and he's, like, rubbing his eyes, and he gets up and goes to the bathroom. And I was like, he don't give a fuck about me, whatever. So I'm like, okay, here comes Shane. He's like, come over here at Rick's. And so I'm like, okay, let's go over there. And so we're going over there to get the weed from Rick, who was selling the weed at the time, and talking to Shane. And next thing I know is your dad's like coming out the back door, and he's like, where are you going? He's like, I woke up and I seen the angel standing in my doorway, and then she disappeared and went off with Shane. I figured she must like Shane. I was like, I don't like Shane. He's a fucking dork. And so the next day we come down, and I remember telling Tommy, I was like, yeah, we're going to just go hang out. And, we didn't have cell phones back then. And I think he was trying to call down there or something. I don't remember. But me and Dad hung out, and he had cooked chili, and I wouldn't go in his trailer. I was like, I'm not going in there. I'll stay in the truck. We hung out in the Blazer, and he was like, I'm going to kiss you now.
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
okay.
I'll kiss you now.
If that's okay. And I was like, okay. And so he did, and he kept saying, come in and eat. I was like, I ain't going in there.
Yeah.
And so at I don't think I went in. I ended up staying the night over at Becky and Randy's. But then the next day I got up and got myself together or whatever, and we hung out again. And I ended up going in the trailer and hanging out with him, and we just was up till 6 o'clock in the morning talking.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is it. That I don't know. I was the happiest I'd ever been in my life, and I knew that I was never going back to that other relationship. But what I was going to say is, before I went down there the second time after I turned 18, and I found out he was asking about me, I went to sleep, and I was dreaming about him. I was dreaming that he was in my dreams. I could see him, and we were together. And it was so weird. And I was like, that's weird. I need to go talk to this dude. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never left. I moved right in, and some chick was trying to stay there.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
packed her
that
shit
chick.
up and put her shit out on the curb, which we ended up being buddies. But at the time I was like, fuck that bitch, and I was a $105, and she was probably 220 and could have whooped my ass. But and honestly, after all that happened and we talked, she was like, I knew that he was in love with you, and y'all, I
That
just need
fast?
to step. Yeah,
That's
She's
crazy,
like,
because it's
true love.
how can you tell that it's not just infatuation,
And I can't explain it. it was nothing I'd ever felt before.
Mhm.
And I'd, dated other people, but it was just a connection where you felt at home.
Yeah.
I felt at home. And I remember sleeping on the couch with him, and Sade, No More I Love You's coming on.
Mhm.
And I was just, I don't know, it's just something, I felt safe
Mhm.
with him. For the first time ever, I felt safe. Like, this is where I'm meant to be, Even through our ups and downs, that we had, we had some little trials and tribulations there, between then and getting our own apartment and our house and this and that. But that was home to me. He was always home and always my safe space.
You felt
I
like
always felt
you feel like
comfortable.
you could understand each other like
yeah,
nobody
most
else.
definitely. We understood each other, and we didn't have cell phones back then, so we had notebooks, little legal pads, and one of them was pink and one of them was purple, and we'd write notes because we'd be in a room full of people partying. Everybody's partying, drinking, doing coke, whatever,
Mhm.
and. I'm like, yeah, sure, I've done coke before. Bitch, you ain't never done no coke.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, I'm gonna do something. Don't be stupid. But I'm over here, we're in a recliner, and we're piled up in a recliner together, in a single seated recliner, but I'm like on top of him, he's on, but we don't want them motherfuckers to know what we're talking about, so we're writing notes past them. I'd write a note, pass to him, he'd write a note, he'd like, yeah,
That's
these
cute.
people stupid, what you think? And I pass to him, and like, yeah, let's go in. But we'd go to the bathroom, and we'd be just sitting in the bathroom floor talking
Just
for
talking
hours,
about
just about
everything?
life. Yeah,
Yeah.
life, everything, what we wanted. And he told me that, I remember that was in 95. We hadn't been together long. That was when he told me, I prayed to God to send me somebody, and you appeared. And he said, I swear to God, he said, I prayed. I said, God, please send me somebody that'll love me and that I can love back. And
Dang.
there you were.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But when he would tell the story, he was like, yeah, I woke up and you had the light coming around.